Here in Philadelphia, painting with broad brushstrokes has never been more difficult than it is today at the Pennsylvania Academy of the Fine Arts, or PAFA. Not in the literal sense, but in the figurative one. That's because the museum, and really the art world at large, grapples with how to handle an artist's work when the artist is accused of sexual misconduct.
Because we're trying to show that this is a work in progress, because these discussions are a work in progress.
Museum director Brooke Anderson had a tough call to make: what to do with a high-profile exhibit filled with the work of this man, artist Chuck Close.
I'm very hesitant to censor artwork.
Close, a pioneer of portraiture who rose to prominence in the 60s, made a name for himself in the way he incorporated photography within the world of painting. But in December, 4 female models accused the artist of sexual harassment.
We quickly realized we needed to gather the troops, so to speak, our community.
Museum leadership held a community forum to begin the discussion on what to do with the exhibit.
We really asked everybody what they were feeling, thinking, how they were responding, how they felt we should respond as an institution.
The way we as a society respond to accusations like these is not a new problem. In recent years, we've had to ask ourselves whether we're still comfortable enjoying the work, like these popular television shows, when the men behind that work are accused of inappropriate behavior. Those are, of course, modern examples, but even Pablo Picasso was known to have mistreated the opposite sex. It all begs a larger question. I'm curious whether you think an artist's work should live totally separate from the artist and their life themselves.
That's like the zinger question.
Art students Melissa Joseph and Candace Jensen took part in the museum's forum regarding the Close exhibit. Melissa's gut reaction? Shut it down.
The truth is, many students did want the show to come down. You just want it to go away. You know, you don't want to have to look at it anymore.
But over the course of a few weeks, she says her views evolved.
But if you think about what's going to actually be most productive for this movement, what's going to actually move things forward, your initial emotional reaction isn't always the right one.
Oh, but don't diminish emotional responses. I mean, emotional responses are really tied up with moral responses.
Right.
Candace says understanding the context in which art was made is key.
Being willing to value the aesthetic decisions that were being made and also be critical of the maker. And I think that, so it's not a black and white.
You can't separate them ultimately. You just can't.
PAFA is not the only institution having to navigate this very gray area. Seattle University removed this Chuck Close self-portrait from a campus library, and the National Gallery of Art in Washington, D.C. has indefinitely postponed a Chuck Close exhibit that was supposed to open next month.
So this is a responsive space.
Brooke Anderson had to make the final call for PAFA. Keep the Close exhibit, but with a caveat right next door.
What if a museum was a site where we could say, we don't agree, and let's unpack how we don't agree. Let's understand how we don't agree, and maybe that advances us a little bit.
Instead, they've created this response exhibit to force a conversation, one that explores gender and equality in the art community. The fact that the Chuck Close gallery in here is directly connected to the response exhibit, literally sharing a wall, is no accident. The museum says the juxtaposition between the two side by side only adds to the conversation.
This timeline is here for each of us to post up our ideas about how we get to an equitable space in the art world. How do we get more women in leadership positions, women artists in art collections, people of color?
In this case, censorship was not the answer, Anderson says, but could we one day see Picasso's taken off a museum wall?
And that might be a decision that some museums will make.
It's a possibility.
Maybe.
Reporting in Philadelphia, I'm Chris Welch.